Okay guys, so we're gonna go over our quick recap of today's trades. Today we traded two stocks. We traded GRIL and BDR. So we'll go over the first trade of the day. We took this trade pre-market. Here we can see that it was trading around 330, squeezed up to a high of 378, and then we had a pullback here. Pullback down almost to VWAP, this orange dotted line. So the place where I jumped in was for a pullback. I jumped in anticipating the break of 375. I jumped in at 370 and it hit a high of 385 on that candle. I took my profit around 380. I went really heavy on size this time compared to what I usually do, because I was pretty red a few days ago or yesterday, and I was just kind of, I don't know, I guess you could say I was just trading off emotion, which is not a good thing. It's really a recipe for disaster. But I took this trade. It was a pretty, I guess, a pretty okay trade. It did not hold. I'm glad I did take the profit when I did, because this thing fell all the way down to $3. So it did not hold this level at 385 or 386. So that was that trade. And I believe the rest of the day just kind of, well, actually it did kind of bounce back up, but I didn't trade it anymore. Here we can see on the 1 minute that it came up to VWAP out of the gates. It came up to VWAP, pulled back, and then here it just it had a flat top breakout over 327, and here it broke that high, broke VWAP up to 338. So this could have been a setup here. Of course, we had the break of today's high, which was 340. So it was kind of like a 3-in-1 setup, actually. Pretty nice. It didn't have that much volume in it, so that's probably the reason why I did not trade it. Whenever I traded it here on this time frame, I think it had like 400,000 shares of volume. So here it might have had only like 600,000 shares of volume, something like that. So this is actually a 3-in-1 setup. The chart actually looks really good. We have this break of the day of the high, which is 340, and then we have a micro pullback here, a break of 338 for a move higher, and here we have the break of VWAP. So it broke VWAP, it's above VWAP, so another move higher, and this offered from 338 up to 358. So that was pretty nice right there. So we'll jump onto BDR. That was the second stock that I traded. This was a we're actually watching a pre-market. It made a move from 75 cents up to a high of 175, so a dollar per share. Out of the gates, it did kind of, this thing was pretty choppy. I mean, it looks very clean here, but it had several million shares of volume traded already, and those are pretty hard to predict on what they're going to do, just because they have so much volume. So here you can see that it moved up from 150 up to 220, pulled back. I jumped in here on this bull flag break of 204, so I jumped in at 197, 198. I saw the volume coming in, and so I jumped in for a break of 2 for a move higher, potentially up to 220. I was expecting a pretty quick snap over from 2 over to 220, but that's not what we got on the level 2. It kind of just barely broke $2, hit 205, 204. I just took my profit there. It was like a 7-cent winner, and then I mean it kind of just chopped around that level, and then it just moved higher up to 237. Break of that up to 246, pulled back, false break on this 1 minute. I mean, this right here is kind of an indication of a fail, that it's going to fade off this level, because it could not hold this level, but it ended up working pretty nicely for an ABCD pattern. Actually, here you can see a break of, you got your A, B, C, D, and then a break of this candle for a move higher, break of 241 up to 260, and then 260, a micro pullback, and that's where I got in on this micro pullback of 260. and again, it did not break out big. It just kind of broke out by about 5 cents up to 268. Well, 260 up to 268, and it just didn't keep going. So I sold around 265. Just took my profit 5 cents. Again, I believe I went heavy on this first trade down here. On this one, it was a little bit lighter, but on the next candle, it broke this candle's high of 268 and it squeezed all the way up to 298. It did halt going up, and then this one resumed actually pretty low. It resumed at 280, 281. It halted at $3, resumed at 281, and it squeezed all the way down to 250, and then it kind of just curled up. So on the curl back up over 275, where it basically opened for a pop up to 3, and then I move higher. You break this high of 320, micro pullback up to 367, another micro pullback here up to 380, and here is a reversal. You got this doji up top, this red doji, and then that's kind of like an indication of a reversal. So on this candle, it went a little bit lower. 353 is a high. Kind of just chop it around this area here, and then the stock halted in the middle of middle of the day. Well, actually the morning. It halted at 335, and it just resumed like around, let's see, it resumed at 1:50 p.m. It resumed at 335, and it dropped all the way down to 151. It did kind of bounce back up, but it ended up failing. I'm not really sure what kind of news this stock had, but whatever it was not good. All right, guys, that's so that was it for today.